National Weather Service has just issued a winter storm watch.
It is still snowing here. We are just getting dumped on right now, and there is reportedly more on the way. I'm going to bring you along with me and explain to you why I'm choosing these few roses for my first order from David Austin this year. Before we jump into what I'm ordering, I want to show you a little overview of our property. This is a very rudimentary sketch, but it should give you an idea of the layout. Our property is kind of a T shape. It's multiple urban lots all put together to add up to half an acre all together. It's very unusual. It's a very unique place. I've broken my gardens up into colored rooms because while I love color, I don't love chaotic color. I like to have colors kind of grouped together in a way that makes me feel like they really work well together without being too much. So how I've got it arranged is so that basically from the barn, the carriage barn, aka garage, that area forward is pinks and whites and creams. And behind the barn, that whole back section of the property, all of that is yellows and purples and blues and whites. So this should be able to give you an idea of what my property looks like. And as I go through the roses I'm ordering, I'm going to give you an idea of where I think they're going to go. Okay, so let's get into the first rose. We are starting with the beautiful Olivia Rose Austin. She is named after David Austin Sr.'s granddaughter. A very pretty pink with these sort of cupped rosettes, and it's a very medium sort of mid-pink color. Nice big blooms. It's a shrub rose that I think it's about 4.5 by 3.5. Repeat flowerer, and it does well in a mixed border, in hedges. It's a good cutting flower, and it does okay with a little bit of shade, which is nice because my pink and white rose garden can get a little bit of shade in part of it. So I have to be aware of that when placing roses. It's also hardy down to zone 5, and that is perfect for me. Okay, next up we've got Tottering-By-Gently. This is another shrub rose, and I love the almost wild looking blooms on this rose. They're single, they're very open-faced, very sweet and demure, and yet also kind of wild feeling at the same time. This is going to be a great rose for pollinators, which is very important to me. It's supposed to be a medium-sized 4x4-ish shrub rose, a repeat flowerer, and have a nice light fragrance, good in mixed borders, can tolerate a little bit of shade. Apparently it throws some nice rose hips. And I think she's just so sweet and cheerful, and she's going to look great with purples, as you can see in this photo where she is mixed in with those gorgeous purple foxgloves and some catmint, which of course I love. I already grow some of that, so that's going to be a great addition to that back lot, I think, in the French country garden side of things, but she probably could fit anywhere back there. Our next rose is an absolute beauty called Vanessa Bell. Now, if you are a returning viewer of mine, you might say, well, don't you already have Vanessa? I sure do. I have, I think, 5 Vanessa Bell roses now. But what I want to do, and I will get into this more in another video, but I want to expand my big mixed border that I started last year, and I'm gonna add 3 more Vanessa Bell roses. I have 3 in that mixed border right now, and I have 2 across the way in front of the medicinal garden, which currently that's my vegetable garden, but that's gonna be changing. This rose just is unbelievably beautiful. It's one of those roses you must see in person to understand how nuanced her coloring is, and her fragrance is just lovely. So I'm really excited to add more Vanessa Bell to my garden. The Alnwick Rose. I have wanted this rose for quite some time, and I'm really thrilled to be getting her now. She is a David Austin classic. She's been around for quite some time. I love the shape of the blooms on this rose. They're very frilly and cupped and super soft pink. Yet there's also this sort of raspberry color to her sometimes too. And an absolutely gorgeous fragrance. I have smelled this rose before, so I know that she's delightful. Real fragrance is so important to me with roses, and that's part of the reason that I come back to David Austin roses again and again, in addition to the old varieties. She is a medium-sized rose, again a shrub rose, 3x4-ish. Very hardy, this one, down to zone 4 it says. Does well in borders, in hedges, pots, containers, very versatile, but does prefer full sun, so I'll need to keep that in mind when I find a place for her. She is going to go in my pink and white rose garden for sure. And we've got another beautiful pink rose. This is Wisley. I believe that's how you say it. If anyone knows differently, let me know below, of course. Another shrub rose, medium size, 4.5-ish by 4.5. Repeat flower, apparently has a nice fruity light fragrance and does okay with a little bit of shade, so I have a little more flexibility with where she goes. This is another rose whose bloom shape I just adore. She doesn't have quite a button eye, but close to it. Now we come to a glorious rose called Winchester Cathedral. I love me some ivory roses and some creamy colored roses like Claire, but I wanted one that is truly a pure white, and Winnie is supposed to be almost blue toned. She's so white, kind of like an iceberg rose. She was introduced all the way back in 1988, and as you can imagine, she's had time to develop quite a reputation. I did try to buy this rose last year and she was sold out, so I'm thrilled to have gotten my hands on her now. Another shrub rose, 4x4, hardy, again down to zone 5, which is very nice. Repeat flowering, nice medium old rose fragrance, and she is gonna need some full sun. Okay, another yellow rose here, and I actually did not order this rose this year. I ordered this rose last year, and there was a bit of a mix-up with what I was sent. Now, the first time I saw this rose, I am not joking when I say that I full-on gasped at how gorgeous this is in person. It is almost ethereal how the cups of these roses, like, they glow in the sunlight. And in my book of English roses, they make a note that this rose introduced to the English roses the open-centered cup-shaped flower. This rose is repeat flowering, has a beautiful light fragrance, and it's a pretty big shrub rose, a 5x4.5 foot size rose, suitable all the way down to zone 5. Now, after all of that, you can imagine my great disappointment when this rose bloomed, and instead of getting that gorgeous bloom that I was expecting, I got this bright orangey red flower. So obviously something went wrong at the nursery when this plant was labeled, and David Austin acknowledged that that was their mistake. I'm going to be getting this rose this spring. Trying again. And finally we come to Charles Darwin. This is another yellow rose. And I'm just going to show you this beautiful spread in the 2022 handbook here. It's such a lovely way to showcase these different shapes and colors of yellows. Bottom left is Tottering-By-Gently, which we talked about earlier. And then if we go to the right side here, on the top is that beautiful Vanessa Bell. I also have Charlotte, who's in the center of the bottom row there. And bottom right is Charles Darwin. That's the rose we're talking about now. This is another rose that has that flat, open, shallowly cupped bloom with almost a button eye in the center, which I have not seen much of in yellow roses. It can take a little bit of shade up to full sun, hardy down to zone 5, and it's considered a large shrub at 4.5 by 4 feet. I can absolutely see this rose in the French country garden. I think it's just going to be a beautiful addition. So that brings us to the checkout page, and here we are. I've got them all in my cart, and I'm about to click purchase. I'm going to watch it spin around as it processes the payment, and order is placed. We've got our first rose order for 2025. Thank you so much for coming along with me today. I'm releasing this on Valentine's Day, and I hope you have an absolutely beautiful day. And I'm going to throw in a little footage of these two being adorable, grooming each other. This is Kian and little sister Ella, who he just loves. He just adores her. And they were cuddled up in this French chair, having a little bath and grooming session, and then ended up falling asleep together. So thank you again for joining me, and I will see you in the next video.